This video will be introducing you to rent-to-own basics. There are different players in the rent-to-own program home buyers, the real estate agents, the mortgage agents, and there's the investor side of the rent-to-own. So there are a lot of moving parts and also confusion when it comes to rent-to-own. But today, we will try to clarify the opportunity for real estate agents when it comes to rent-to-own. This is an opportunity for you as a real estate agent to uncover new sources of revenue for your own business. It's an opportunity for you to generate more referrals and really solve a challenging problem that most real estate agents can solve for some of their clients. So today I'm bringing you Rachel Oliver. Rachel is a multi-award winning rent-to-own expert. She's the co-author of the book Rent-to-Own Essential Guide for Home Buyers and has been featured in the Canadian Real Estate Wealth Magazine, Financial Post, CBC, CTV, and co-host to Mothers of Real Estate TV show. So let's dive right in.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic. So let me just minimize this part. Okay, fantastic. So good morning, everyone. My name is Rachel. Thank you so much for joining us today. I will be introducing you to rent-to-own basics. And this is, there's different players in a rent-to-own program. There are, home buyers, there are real estate agents, there are mortgage agents, and there's the investor side of rent-to-own. So there's a lot of moving parts. But today, I'm really going to be demystifying the opportunity for real estate agents when it comes to rent to own. It's basically an opportunity for you to uncover new sources of revenue for your business. It's an opportunity for you to generate more referrals and really solve a challenging problem that most real estate agents cannot solve for other people. So I'm going to dive in. I have a lot of information to share with you. You will feel like you're drinking from the fire hose, but we will be taking some questions afterwards, Andrea. We have some time for some questions.
It really depends. We're a little bit on late, but let's try our best. We have about 15 minutes, so see how we go. Okay. But we can always have you back, and we can dive deeper into it.
Gotcha. Okay, fantastic. So one of the things that I tapped into about 15 years ago was that there was a lot of misinformation about rent to own. And one of the things I did out of the gate was, after helping about 50 people, my husband and I do this together as a team. And we realized that our phone kept ringing and people had a lot of questions. So the best way to answer questions was to truly distill the information in a book. So we actually wrote a book. It's a paperback and it's available on Amazon in ebook form or in paperback. But really, this book goes into a lot of details about what rent to own is from a home buyer's point of view. And you, as a real estate agent, in order to help the home buyer, should understand what their journey is about. So we have a lot of real estate agents reading this book, not just across Canada, but also in the US and Australia and the UK. So we're really, really proud of what information this book carries. So if you're the kind of person that doesn't like just the surface level details, well, I'll tell you how you can get a copy of this book at the end of the presentation. And in this picture, you see my husband, Neil, and I. And when we're not working with real estate agents and home buyers trying to put rent-to-own deals together and help more families get into home ownership, we spend a lot of time with our family. These are our two young ladies, and they are actually the reason why Neil and I decided to focus on the rent-to-own strategy as real estate investors, and also as a means to help other families, because we know the importance of giving your children stability and a really great roof over their heads. So we've dedicated about 15 years to helping other families create that stability and that opportunity. So what am I going to cover with you today? I'll very quickly, in the next 14 minutes, walk you through what is rent-to-own, who does it help, the new buyer prospects that you can tap into, and how you specifically benefit in your real estate business. And I'll walk into some next steps. And if we have time for questions, I'll take them. If not, we can connect afterwards. So one of the things that we're noticing is that home ownership rates are rapidly declining, especially in the Ontario area. So we're seeing about 3% decline in Ontario compared to other parts of Canada. And a part of that has something to do with people not being able to qualify for a mortgage. It is no secret that there are a lot of people getting turned down for mortgages. And if you're talking to buyers who recently got declined by the banks due to credit, that's where rent to own really comes in. It's the people that don't have enough job history or enough, debt ratios based on how the banks are looking at them. Whatever their circumstances are, usually the rejection is related to credit. And that's really where rent to own comes in. I'm here to empower you to basically say, you know what, you as a real estate agent can offer these people a different path so that they don't have to take no for an answer. And that is going to also skyrocket your business. So when we look at the landscape of buyers, we kind of I compartmentalize them in a pyramid. And basically at the bottom here, we have people who will never own. Most of these people are either outpriced or that just doesn't fit their lifestyle. Not everyone needs to own a home. So in the top category are the people that can still qualify with the banks. And it's getting that little triangle is getting much smaller because fewer people have the income, fewer people have the credit, and of course, fewer people can, see themselves living further out than they used to before. And then we have this middle category. And these are all the people that want to be at the very top of the pyramid, but they just need a little bit of time. And this is where the market opportunity is for you as real estate professionals to grow your business, because the people in this category generally need a little bit of time to repair their credit. They need time to establish job history. They need time to maybe pay off some debts that they've incurred over the years. And they need a little bit of time to save up a bigger down payment. Saving up even 5% is getting more and more challenging because the cost of living has gone up. We have inflation that we're dealing with. And in general, I think a lot of people are finding it difficult to keep up with the prospect of saving up a bigger down payment while you're renting, while you're trying to enjoy life, while you're paying off all of those bills. So these are all the reasons that somebody would need some time. And these are all the reasons why rent to own would make sense for these people. So who are these new people? Who are these new buyer leads? Well, there's about 5 of them. We can quantify them in 5s. So people who are self-employed, business owners, people who earn commission, oftentimes they are either not showing enough income or they just started their business recently and they just don't have the 2 years of stated income that the banks need to see. These are probably our top families that we help rent to own. A lot of families also are blended families. So after each going through a divorce, they're now remarried, they have a blended family, they're making a fresh start, but they're carrying some matrimonial debt from the previous divorce. And that sometimes dings their credit. So people who are coming out of a divorce often need time to build their credit. People who are new to Canada often need time to establish credit. And people who have a brand new job. So if they're moving careers, or maybe they were a housemaker before and they just stepped into a job, they need some job history. And when you don't have job history, you don't get a mortgage. And student loans. So people who went back to school or are just coming out of school oftentimes are carrying student debt. And that student debt weighs them down to be able to qualify for a mortgage. So oftentimes if they have a new car loan or student loans, the banks turn them away and they have to go back to renting. And that is not what they want. So that's where rent to own can be a solution. Most of these buyers are entry-level buyers, first-time home buyers. They're buying their new home. And remember, entry-level buyers are in a lower price point. We're not talking about renting to own $1 million properties here. We're talking about, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 properties, depending on where you're looking. Downtown condos probably closer to 700,000. But if somebody moves further out of the city, they can get a starter home for 700,000. So everyone's budget is going to ultimately dictate what first-time entry-level buyer means to them. And that's where we will figure out their budget. So speaking of budget, let's address the big hairy elephant in the room. Rent to own is absolutely not for everyone. There are a lot of people who are already outpriced out of the market. I wish they came to us earlier. I wish you knew about us earlier and we could have probably done something about it. But a lot of people are outpriced. If they do not make a strong household income, they're not going to qualify for financing, and they're certainly not going to qualify for rent to own because they still have to be on the hook to make the monthly payments. So we can help people who have a strong annual household income and they have about 5% saved up for a down payment. Here's a tip. People who are buying $450,000 properties, yes, further out of the GTA, of course, but if they're buying $450,000 or less, they can get in with just $15,000 down payment. And yes, we are still seeing properties like that. They are further out, and maybe you're not going to be the agent that actually shows those properties, but you can definitely refer those out to a further out community and still help the family and still monetize that lead. So there's still different ways of looking at this. Now, if you have a pen and paper handy, I urge you to take it out right now because I'm going to give you a quick shortcut to let you know how to do some quick math so that you can quickly decide if certain leads are going to be a good fit for rent to own and whether you should take them down that path or if you should just let them down gently. So are you ready? I'm going to walk you through very, very basic math. I am not a numbers person, but this is going to help you decide who you can and cannot help. So very basic. You want to ask them, what is their annual household income? And you want to multiply that by 4. And then you want to ask them, what amount of down payment do they have saved up? And you add that to the amount. And combined, you will find out what their maximum purchase price is. And then you can have a relaxed discussion. Then you can talk about, okay, this is what can and cannot work for you. Have you considered these areas? Oh, that area might not fit. So basically, what that looks like is a husband and wife make $60,000 each. Combined, that's an annual household income of $120,000. You multiply that by 4 and say they have $20,000 saved up for a down payment. Well, that means their maximum purchase price is about $500,000. And that's where you can start doing some heavy lifting and advising them. Where can they find something for that amount of money? And who in your network of real estate agents can you refer them to if it's an area that they're willing to move to, but it's an area that you don't necessarily support? And that's how you're going to uncover new opportunities. So back to the people who can rent to own help. Once you've established that they have basic affordability and a little bit of a down payment saved up, well, you want to be able to tell them, well, how can rent to own help you? Now, we will do all the heavy lifting, but out of the gate, you want to have a few points to speak to. Well, rent to own can help someone build up a bigger down payment. No, they don't need 20%. They're buying personal residential. But if they have 5% today, we'll help them build up 10% down payment so that they can qualify with the banks. Because if today they have 5% and they're not qualifying with the banks, something is not working. And that's where we come in and we can strategize and fix it for them through the rent to own process. We're going to help them repair or establish credit. So again, credit is the big reason why a lot of people get turned down by the banks, and it's fixable. They might not get a mortgage today, but we'll put them in the rent-to-own program, help them repair or establish their credit, and exit them into their own mortgage. So they will take ownership of a property. And ultimately, rent-to-own helps people build equity. And this is the number one reason why someone wants to rent-to-own instead of just renting and trying to save up on their own and try to figure out how to fix their credit on their own. They get a piece of equity from the day that they move in. And with every monthly payment they make in a rent-to-own, they are actually building equity. And that's what helps them get ahead financially. So first-time buyers and entry-level buyers are ultimately getting into the market with these 3 benefits. And many of them are on the cusp of getting outpriced. So time is of the essence. And the good news is our rent-to-own program helps people get out of renting to own and into an ownership position. And 90% of the buyers that go through our program get a mortgage. 10% of them don't necessarily succeed, not because of the rent to own, but because life happens. Maybe they got separated or divorced. Maybe they lost their job. Maybe they got relocated for their job. There's a number of personal circumstances that come up, but everyone who completes the program gets their mortgage. So technically it's 100% success rate. So 5 simple steps that your client will go through. Essentially, we screen them, we do all the heavy lifting to explain how the rent-to-own process works, and we give them an approved budget. With that approved budget, we let you know what their budget is, and you take them house hunting. You're shopping the open market, you're shopping the MLS for them based on their budget. You're showing them listings. We can run the numbers to let them know what the monthly costs will be, but ultimately the house hunting process is very much the same as what you already experience with buyers. Now, when they find a property they love, we will review what the monthly payment will look like. We'll walk them through their commitment in terms of the rent to own, and we'll walk them through all the contracts so that they understand exactly what they're getting into. You don't need to worry about speaking to all of that. And then once we submit an offer and the offer is accepted, your client moves in and the rent to own kicks in. And fast forward 36 or 48 months, we help them exit out of the rent to own and into an ownership position. But you don't have to be involved in any aspect of that. Your part is done at the beginning when they move into the house. So how do agents and teams benefit from knowing some of the rent to own basics? Well, you unlock some major benefits. You unlock an opportunity to reach more buyers. So your buyer pool has just increased, believe it or not, by at least 20% just from being part of this introductory conversation. You're going to build new relationships. Every rent-to-own deal has Clover Properties investors behind the scenes. We bring those investors to you, so you tap into new relationships. And we help buyers when no one else can help them. So when you're part of that transaction, you are a superhero and you retain relationships longer. So not only do you have a competitive advantage, you ultimately complete more business. You do more business, you close more transactions, and not just the one that you did with the people that needed rent to own. You might open up conversations with people who don't even need rent to own, and that'll give you more transactions. But of course, more transactions leads to more commissions. There's 3 ways to earn commission. There's now, which you will earn your full buyer agent commission by helping a family find a home that they want to rent to own. And we will jump in to purchase that home. You will also earn some medium-term commission because as your clients continue to move up and upsize, or maybe in some cases downsize, you benefit from that as well. And ultimately, they're going to send you some referrals and new business opportunities. So the sky is the limit for you. Oh, what did I do here? Did I go backwards? Yeah, I went backwards. I apologize. I clicked the wrong thing here. My clicker sometimes goes backwards. Hang on a sec. Almost done. Okay. Where's the commissions? There we go. So essentially, I wanted to mention this young lady, Janet, who came to us about 7 years ago, and she didn't know anything about rent to own. She was a rookie real estate agent, just started out, didn't want to do door knocking, didn't want to do cold calling, but she wanted to help more buyers. And she thought she would have a competitive advantage by understanding what rent to own is. So she grilled us. She asked a lot of questions. We didn't have a course or training programs or this kind of information sharing at that time, but she forced us to sit down and basically picked our brain. And from the knowledge that she gained just by learning from us, she was able to generate almost $220,000 in her rookie year in terms of buyer agent commissions. She didn't do any listings. She just helped buyers get into the rent to own program. And she was hooked. She's been focused on exclusively rent to own for the full 7 years. And she's helped a lot of home buyers across Ontario. And because of Janet, we ultimately went on to create a training program. So just a quick recap, we qualify buyers that get declined by the banks. You take them house hunting once we approve them for rent to own. There are no fees to your clients. Our services are absolutely free, not like a private mortgage or anything. Your clients get in without any cost. And we match the qualified buyer through our rent to own program with a qualified investor buyer. So behind the scenes, we have pre-qualified investor buyers who will actually be making the offer with you. And you get paid your full commission on closing when our investor takes title and the rent to own family moves in. So ultimately, this translates into us helping you close more deals. As I mentioned, we have investors behind the scenes, and they're really just families who want to help other families get into home ownership. They're just like Neil and I, who value the security and stability of home ownership, and we want to give back to other members of our community who need a helping hand. And we have about 150 investors in our network who are ready to go. And just a quick overview, the Clover Properties investor has typically a very high household income. They have excellent credit in the 700s. They're usually executives, professionals, semi-retired people, and parents. And they have 20% down payment plus closing costs. They are A++ borrowers, so the banks love them, and they can do more than one rent to own. So one investor oftentimes helps at least 2 or 3 families rent to own. And through our investor network, we've been able to help over 800 Ontario families, and we've recently started operating in Alberta as well. And the transaction for you is super simple. You take the family house hunting, you present an offer, you essentially close on that property, the rent-owned family moves in, and you get your full commission on closing. So what's next? Very, very quick. A lot of agents want to take a deeper dive because I've just scratched the surface here. You can get rent-to-own SMART certified. And it was thanks to Janet, that real estate agent who was a rookie, who basically forced us to distill this information as a result of us talking to her and training her. Well, this certification program was born. And it's essentially a training program that is exclusive for real estate agents. We cover 3 modules: finding rent-to-own ready leads, what the house hunting and deal logistics look like, and then OREA compliance. We walk you through a lot of details on this training. It is by invitation only, by the way. If you're thinking this is a sales pitch, this is by invitation only because Andrea is hosting this event. You get to attend the certification training for free. It answers a lot of questions, and and this is just a sampling of the stuff that we cover. And as part of the if you go through this training, you get a rent-to-own SMART seal, which you can add on all of your digital media, all of your marketing. We have a private Facebook group for certified agents where you can ask questions, where we keep you posted and ongoing information. Plus, you get a freebie. You get a free copy of this Rent-to-Own Essential Guide for Home Buyers. You can keep it for yourself, or you can gift it to a family that might need rent-to-own. So if you're interested in taking this training, then I would urge you to chat with me. I'll show you a little link where you can book a call. You will get more referrals, more inquiries, more clients, more exposure, and ultimately more closings. So think about who you know who might need rent to own, and you want to speak to them. Whether or not you pursue the training, it really doesn't matter. We will work with agents who are not rent to own certified. It just makes the process easier for you and your buyer if you are certified, because you know what the steps are. And if you can think off the top of your head, someone who needs rent to own today, well, we can fast track them. There's a form you can fill out. And once you know what their income is, once you know what their down payment is, all you have to do is fill in this form and submit it to us. We'll initiate a pre-screening call with your client. We'll explain how rent-to-own works. We'll explain whether they're a good fit for rent-to-own, and we will notify you how that call went. So full transparency, always keeping you in the loop, and we do all the heavy lifting. So grab a photo of this QR code if you have a client, and if not, well, you're interested in information on training, grab a photo of this QR code, and that'll get you talking to me, and we'll set you up on the training. And that's it.
Thank you so much, Rachel. And if you guys are interested, I think it's a great opportunity for a lot of people that don't qualify. We just have this question here. If I understand it, we find people, we pass it to you, and you basically connected with investors in order to investors to purchase that property, and then they're renting it back. I think there's tons of questions that come in my mind, not time for that. You know, for example, what happens if they default on the rent? But I think one of the things that come in my mind right away that may be interested for who's on the call right now is everybody's using OREA forms, or we just pass you this client as a referral basically, and you take care of everything. Who's putting the offer to these properties? Do we find the properties? I know I'm throwing at you a lot of questions, but I think what's most important is like we just find these unqualified by banks people and we refer to you, and then from there, what's our role to find them homes that your investors, are we working with the investors, are we working with the when we show properties, how that works? And I know it's a lot, but
that's a lot of questions. And we do cover everything that you just touched on. It's part of our training program. So we go into a lot of detail, but just to give you a quick overview, essentially we're like the bank. So we think of us like the bank. The people who need a mortgage go to the bank evaluates their paperwork, tells them what they can afford. They go to a real estate agent and start house hunting. The real estate agent helps them find a home. And then when they find a home, they have to go back to the bank to get the actual financing in place. So the process is exactly the same with us. You have a buyer who needs to get qualified for a rent-to-own program to figure out their budget. You send them to us. We figure out what they can qualify for. We do income verification. We look at their credit, their documentation, the same way the banks would evaluate their ability to keep up with monthly payments. And once we've established the budget, we let them know what the budget is. And if they want to move to the next step, and that's go house hunting, we boomerang them back to you. You start showing them listings based on their affordability, based on the budget that we've designated. And you go shopping the same way you would. When you find a property that they love, we run the numbers to let them know what the monthly payment will be so that they know exactly what they're getting into. And we present them with, what the commitment will be. And if they want to move forward, well, that's when we bring in a Clover Properties investor to work with you, the real estate agent, to make the offer. So you're actually representing our investor on the purchase, a qualified purchaser. And the home buyer.
The question that I have for you, who am I signing the contract with? I'm signing 2 buyer contracts. One is with the rent-to-own client, and then the other is once the investor is designated, I'm signing a form like buyer representation with this investor, and they become my clients. And then we're submitting an offer on behalf of the investors.
So are you filling out the customer and client paperwork? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah.
So your customer is the family that needs rent to own. They're going house hunting. The client is actually the investor. So your buyer rep is for the client, for the investor client. But the investor doesn't come into the picture until the customer has found a property. That's when we cue the client to step into the conversation with you.
Got it. Okay, I understand now. And we are getting paid exactly on closing from the listing brokerage like before. So there's no change in there. And then from there, it's basically your problem with the rental, basically with the rent-to-own client. Quick question, and we're literally in 2 minutes. We're done because we're over. Does new immigrants can be approved for rent-to-own? I assume if they have like a immigrant status or something. I don't know. You know the answer on that.
If they have permanent residency status, they can be approved for rent-own. If they're applying for permanent residency and they haven't received it yet, they can also qualify for rent-to-own as long as they have income and down payments.
How about someone with a work permit?
They have to be applying for permanent residency. A work permit doesn't mean that they want to stay here. And if they do not have the intention to stay here, they're not going to qualify for a mortgage down the road. This is designed for people who want to stay here and want to own a home, not people who are here on a work visa, unfortunately.
Yeah. So when the purchaser is ready to own, is there a transfer title down the road, and LTT at which price, original price, or 10 years later after RTO at current value rate?
So rent-to-owns don't last 10 years. It's a maximum of 3 or 4 year timeline on average. And they are buying the property at an appreciated price, because the whole point of owning real estate is that it goes up in value. You don't want to own real estate if it's staying still or depreciating. So yes, they are going to be locked into a future purchase price, and we explain that to them at the very beginning. It's all contractually laid out, and it's within their affordability. And yes, they are going to be transferring title, because once they take ownership, the investor comes off of title and that home buyer takes title. And yes, that triggers land transfer tax.
Got it. Okay. Well, thank